Gael Sylvia, and you're watching SylviaGlobal.com. I'm very excited because we have a wonderful new series of shows called Voices of Our Future that are now broadcasting on Sylvia Global Media Network. These are graduates of World Pulse Citizen Journalist Training Program. They represent more than 15 countries around the world, and they bring to us a unique, inspirational, informative conversation associated with the women and girls of their countries. Their perspective and their voices have long been absent from the global conversations, and we're so excited and honored to be able to provide a platform that will amplify their voices and give visual context to these wonderful women. Kicking off today is a new host. Her name is Precious Meshi Nkeih, and she graduated from the University of Nigeria with a degree, a master's in communications. She's also studied journalism and mass communication from the University of Buea in Cameroon. Precious, thank you so much for bringing your new show called Precious Inspires to Sylvia Global Media Network. How are you?
I'm good, Sylvia.
It's very nice to have you. Talk to us about your program, Precious Inspires, and the wide range of topics that you'll be able to discuss through your broadcast. I know they include maternal health, financial empowerment, relationships, domestic violence, and its multiple forms that happens in emotionally and verbally. Expand on your broadcast.
Okay, Precious Inspires is all about inspiring the women and girls out there. Inspiring them in many different ways, through interviews, through pieces of advice that will be churned out through the program. So I'm going to start off with domestic violence, and not just the physical violence that goes on in the home, but the emotional violence and the verbal violence that a lot of women nowadays are being subjected to. That's a topic I really want to address. But apart from that, I'm also going to be looking at maternal health, because I'm a mom of 2 girls, and having been pregnant and gone to the hospital, I've experienced a lot, and I think those things have to change, because a lot of women who are pregnant, they are really not taught in my community. They are really not taught so much on how to care for themselves, how to care for their unborn children. There is a lot that needs to be done, and those are the things I intend tackling. And I'm also going to be looking at financial empowerment, because if we are talking about empowering the woman cannot be empowered if she's not empowered financially. A lot of women are like slaves to men because they depend on them for everything. But if the woman has her own bread to feed on, then she's already empowered and she can care for her children. So these are some of the topics I'm going to be looking at on Precious Inspires.
What are some of your experiences associated with these topics? You made reference to maternal health. What was your experience that made you concerned about this?
Okay. When I was pregnant for my first child, it was good. It was better than the other experiences. I would like to start from there so that you understand where I'm coming from. I went to a Baptist hospital, and we had an antenatal clinic. There we're taught a lot of things, about your pregnancy, what you should eat, what you shouldn't eat, labor, what you should expect, the importance of breastfeeding, and then they conducted a lot of tests on us, and then they explained to us why they were doing this test. They said we're doing this test so that we want to see if you're in health, if you're okay. Okay, that was good. This is a mission hospital. Okay, now, when I was pregnant, my second pregnancy ended up in a miscarriage. I went into another mission hospital. Yeah, and when I started bleeding, I didn't even know it was a miscarriage that was going on, and it was on a Sunday. So I went into this hospital, and they wanted to admit me. They wanted to put me on a sick bed, make me an inpatient, and then there was no doctor to attend to me. They were like, I have to wait till Monday, and they said since it's an emergency, they just have to admit me, and I'll just stay there waiting till Monday. I mean, it was so discouraging. I had to leave from there and look for a private clinic. It took me hours to finally get to a private clinic where the doctor could tell that I was a miscarriage and it was inevitable at this point in time. So if they had something in place that could could help me right away, that could have stopped the miscarriage from happening. Now, in my third pregnancy, I went to this other hospital for antenatal clinic, and I was not taught anything whatsoever about pregnancy or childbirth. I mean, the very first day, I was excited about learning because I had always been interested in learning more about being a mother and all that. When I went there, they just told me somewhere and then sent me to do some tests, and they did not explain to me why I was doing those tests. And now, when I asked the midwife, please, can you explain to me why you're taking my sample for this? She became rude because she took a blood sample, and I thought she was about to do a malaria test because she took it the same take sample to a malaria test, and she was like, have you seen a microscope here? It was really discouraging. And rather than explaining to me calmly that this is why we are doing this test, there was no explanation whatsoever. Then I began asking myself, what if I knew nothing about childbirth? Where will I be right now? So I think that there is a lot that is still to be done concerning maternal health in so many communities. Government hospitals, like in my community, it's a no-go zone for me because sometimes you go there, the nurses are busy watching television rather than attending to patients. I mean, you find so many women in labor and they are basically on their own. So there's something that, with my experience in that area, I would really like to touch on it, and I would really like to help women who have been subjected to similar experiences. On financial empowerment,
wait,
yeah,
before you move on to
yeah.
financial empowerment, so are your intentions to bring guests on the show that can provide information to women who are pregnant?
Yes, I'm going to be bringing guests that can provide information to pregnant women, and possibly bringing also pregnant women, to talk to them how the pregnancy has been coming on, how they are feeling in it. Yeah, so that I can have that direct contact, maybe one or two of them, and then guests now that can talk to the women out there.
Is there a message that you will also be conveying to decision makers associated with healthcare and engaging
Yes.
people in terms of policy changes and some other more robust, practical changes within the healthcare system?
Yes, I have a lot of messages for them. The first thing is that that there are a lot of nurses.
One of the reasons I'm reacting this way is we did a show earlier today with a fellow World Postgraduate, Eunice Owino from Kenya, and the title of her show is Unruly Woman. And you definitely qualify as an unruly woman because you are not. Basically, it was women who no longer tolerate injustice. That we just become, because I'm one as well, we become fed up with being on the receiving end of being a victim, whether it's to ignorance or to lack of resources or to education or whatever area that we're fed up with, and we want to be the change, we want to see change, then we become unruly in nature. It's like, that's it, I've had it, I'm going to make a difference. And so you qualify as definitely an unruly woman, and we're so glad that you're here in the world to get things correct. There are lives at stake, and there are babies' lives at stake, and this is an opportunity to change that for good, and to bring some good from the tragedies that have happened. So talk about the financial empowerment as well, because that's key, to everything else.
Yes. Yeah. I was going to say that my personal experience with that is I've been married for over 4 years now, and I've never really had like a fixed job, like a steady means of income, and my husband has been supporting the family, 90%. I've done a couple of things that have given me income, but it hasn't been steady. So, one thing I discovered is that women in the workplace are often marginalized. I had this job to be an instructor at the university. I was instructing in mass communication and film production, since I have a master's degree in mass communication. the registrar of the school, since it was a private institution, he was just acting the way he wanted, because there was no like auditing whatsoever from the government, no check whatsoever to find out if it's keeping up to standards. So what happens is that when I work, I practically have to beg for pay. The first time I went to him and I was like, because he said he was going to be paying per hour, I was like, okay, can I start getting my pay now? He was like, you have to write an application and deposit it a week before, and then you wait for me to approve it, then I can start paying you. I have read the application. Some days you go there, you tell you I've already paid this your male colleague before you, because he saw me as a woman, and he saw me as someone that was vulnerable and could not easily stand up to him, and he could get away with anything he did. So I think that when it comes to financial empowerment, a lot still has to be done to make the workplace comfortable and safer for the woman. A lot of women have been subjected to sexual harassment. I mean, when I was applying for jobs, I went somewhere and a man was like, I can make you have this job if you want to get it. I told him, don't bother, I've already dropped my application. And he was like, no, don't, people have dropped applications like that and it has done them no good. Come and let me make you have this job. So that's the reality women face every day. And that serves as a barrier to them making the money that they need to get the basic necessities of life. So financial empowerment is important. What I'm going to be doing in this area is I'm going to be telling women what they can do to empower themselves from whichever angle they are. What can they do to empower themselves financially? What little business can they do? I'm going to bring in experts on business that can inspire them to start even small businesses wherever they are, and to inspire them to make themselves brands that can go in for careers, women that can go for job interviews and they'll be chosen, not just women that are there, you just want a job and you're not qualified, you're not intelligent, you've not built yourself, you've not taken yourself to that point where an employer can see you and say, oh, I want to employ this person. So it's going to be inspiring women to build so that they can be seen as valuable in the job market, and also to talk to the people out there that are marginalizing the woman in the workplace that they should stop and this is not right, and to tell the government that they should put laws in place, and not only putting the laws in place, but this law should be enforced, and so that every employer, the private employer, should know that you don't treat your employees anyhow. This is how you should treat your employees. So that's basically what the financial empowerment segment is really all about.
So these are violations whether in the area of maternal health and with the financial health that are violations of basic human rights.
Yes.
And so the violation of these types of human rights is another form of violence against women and girls.
Yeah.
And so you are going to be discussing domestic violence, but you're doing more with each of these topics than just highlighting the problem. You're also bringing solutions. You're also showing real faces and sharing real stories of people who have come out of these situations and their advice and wisdom on how to survive and to rise above these types of injustices, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
It's all about giving solutions.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Giving solutions. So the domestic violence is
now,
not...
just saying it's all about... Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. I was just saying it's all about, it's not just highlighting the problem, but also offering solutions, not just saying we have a problem, but what can we do, what is the way forward. That's just it.
Why domestic violence? What has your experience been that has made this an important topic for you?
Yeah. Like in the letter I wrote to the Minister of Women Empowerment and the Family in my country,
yes,
I mentioned the case of Emerentia. Emerentia is my brother-in-law's wife. I knew her about 5 years ago when I was going to get married, and I was introduced to her, so we got close and we started talking. And the amount of domestic violence she has been subjected to is appalling. She used to tell me stories of how her husband beats her up, and how her husband sleeps with other women, makes a lot of babies outside, and how he insults her children. The way he treats them, how he doesn't provide anything, to support the children. It's always so difficult before he can do anything for the children. She has to practically fight for it, and it just brought tears to my eyes when she told me her story. And one day she because he has beaten her so much that her body doesn't function correctly. Like, she has a lot of pains, some pains that don't seem to go away. They are always just there because of the frequent punching and everything. So she told me she did, since she's not so educated, she did some hospital tests and they gave her book with the results, and she couldn't interpret the results. So she brought the book to me so I could help her interpret them. So when I flipped through the pages of her hospital book, I mean, it was just terrible. 90% of her sickness, of the reason why she consulted, was assaulted by husband, assaulted by husband, assaulted by husband. She kept going to the hospital. The husband beat her. All the neighbors around are aware of that. Such that one day the landlord had to ask him, "Is this really a woman you chose to marry?" And he was like, "No, I didn't choose that. She was just giving me as a gift." So domestic violence is real. It's there with a lot of women, and the government has not made it easier for them. So I think that there should really be, it should really be it should be spoken about in a way that all men that commit this domestic violence, they are going to be scared to do that. Because right here in the United States, just coming here, I discovered that even men from my community coming here, they get scared to beat their wives because they know the repercussions. I love stories like that, they know what they will face. But if they're back home, nobody cares. They can do anything they like. Sometimes you go to the police or you go to social welfare, but if the matter just ends like that, no, it's not enough. There has to be serious repercussions that they will face, so that these men should get scared and they should know that this is a no thing to do. So this is something I'm really passionate about because of what I've seen. One day I saw a man trying to beat his wife on the road. In the neighborhood, in my community, a man was trying to beat his wife. I was in a tailor's shop and I heard other women saying, "Look at the man trying to beat his wife on the road. What kind of man is this?" And I went and I peeped and I saw the man trying to beat his wife, and together with the other women raised our voices and started shouting on him and said, "Stop! You don't do that to a woman. How can you beat your wife?" And you know what? The man was scared and he stopped because we raised our voices together. 3 women, we just said stop, and the man stopped and he went his way. So I think that the government should really put laws in place to stop this, because there are men that do this a lot to women. A lot of women are suffering out there, and it's not healthy for the children that grow in such homes. A lot of children growing in such homes tend to be abusers themselves. So it's very important to stop this vice.
How many women are in elected office in your community in Cameroon?
I think how many
women are in decision-making positions of authority, elected positions, to be able to impact policy and change in this area?
Elected, if you're talking about elected positions, there are not many. That we are very few. I don't have the exact statistics, but there are not many women. But in the southwest region where I was living before I came here, I spoke with a delegate who works at the Ministry of Women Empowerment and the Family, and she told me that this year they had more female delegates than they had in the years before. More female delegates in the southwest region of my country than they have had the years before. But delegates are not elected in a way; they are just appointed. So
now that you're here in the United States, and it's only been a few months, how many months have you been here?
Yeah. I mean, it's less than 2 months. In a week's time, it will be about 2 months.
How are you adjusting?
Wow.
You are in Minnesota,
yes,
correct?
I'm in Minnesota where there's a lot of cold. Yeah.
How are you adjusting? Is it lonely?
Yeah, it's not easy because yeah, I'm basically at home. Yeah, it's not like when back home where you could just jump out and pick a commercial bike and go to wherever I want to go to, and and we had stores even just around us where you could buy it. Going out is like it's like a project, and not having a means of transportation like a personal car, you're really like limited. So I'm basically at home with my kids, molding them, seeing what I can put into them. I just turn on the TV and watch the TV stations here so that I can relate to what is going on in the society here. But more than that, what one thing that is really going on now with me is I'm doing a lot of comparison. I'm comparing the way things are here and with the way things are back home, and there are a lot of differences. Sometimes I'm like, I wish the people back home could just learn from some of the things I see here. So it's an
But the very
adjustment phase for me.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, but continue. What did you just? What was the last part you were saying?
And I said it's an adjustment phase for me.
Mhm. But all of the things that you've described, whether it's the maternal health issues, the poor treatment and quality of care, the financial empowerment, the domestic violence, those are all very real issues here in the United States, and women who are suffering alone within your own community, here local, domestically and in Cameroon. So I believe that your program, Precious, you will be inspiring women that you might be around the corner from and not realize it because of the power of digital broadcasting. You'll be speaking to
Well,
women in Sweden, who are concerned about the same thing and looking to you for some options and advice on how to address their
okay.
personal concerns. And so the women in Cameroon are actually going to end up, through you, being a blessing to women around the world, whether they're in Minneapolis or they're in Mongolia, because of the power of digital broadcasting. Anything else that you'd like our audience to be aware of about your new show, Precious Inspires?
Um, I'll just like you to know that the show has a lot to bring to the table. Just like it says, Precious Inspires, it's all about inspiring change, being a powerful voice for change. Each episode is going to be rich with information. It's going to be rich with tips that are going to transform people, that are going to take people to their next levels. It's just going to be a very, very educative process. So they ought to watch out for that.
Precious Inspires. She launched in January 2014 here on Sylvia Global Media Network. You can learn more about Precious at sylviaglobal.com and also at worldpulse.com. Precious Meshi Nkeih, thank you so much for being here today on Sylvia Global Media Network.
Thank you too, Sylvia. It has been a pleasure.
I look forward to working with you. Stand by.